Welcome to Real Estate Game Changers Radio, featuring real estate trendsetters and industry influencers, sharing tips and strategies to help home buyers and home sellers get the most out of their next real estate transaction. Now, here's your host, Suzanne Doyle Ingram.
Hello, this is Suzanne Doyle Ingram, your host of Real Estate Game Changers Radio, and we have a very wonderful guest on the show today. Her name is Holly Henbest, and she is a realtor with more than 25 years of sales, marketing, and client service experience. She is in Scottsdale, Arizona, and she really has won so many awards. She's had an award from the Scottsdale Association of Realtors, from Phoenix Business Journal, Top Agent Magazine, Arizona Women Magazine. She is a real go-getter, and before she was a realtor, she enjoyed a career in sales and marketing and hotel and staffing, and we're going to hear all about that good stuff. But then when she got into real estate, her career just completely took off. She's amazing. She has such a wonderful sense of community and helping others. She's just wonderful. And welcome to the show, Holly. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so happy to be interviewing you today. I can't wait for our listeners to hear all of your insights about real estate. But so I want to start off with for you to explain to our listeners how you got into the real estate business, because you have a diverse background.
Yes. Well, it's interesting. When I went to college and I was trying to decide what I wanted to be when I grew up, real estate was always at the forefront in terms of one of my desires. But upon graduating college, I realized that I needed a job that had an immediate paycheck and benefits and retirement plan and all of those good things that real estate doesn't necessarily offer right away.
Yes,
so I took the safe route, and I went through the corporate chain, and I started off with Marriott and worked for them for a number of years. And I have to say that was a fantastic choice, and I'm so pleased that I did start with the corporate route, because it gave me such a great training ground in terms of delivering excellent customer service, working with people, working with challenges, solving problems, in addition to negotiating and selling. And so I feel like that was just the epitome of being a great place to start my career. From there, I went on to another corporate position with La Jolla Beach and Tennis Club. And then from there, I changed directions and left the hospitality industry and went into the staffing business. And I was in San Diego at the time, and I then relocated to Arizona to expand the Arizona marketplace. And after 10 years in that organization, I decided it was finally time to do what I originally had always wanted to do, and I transitioned into real estate. I was a single mom, and I had a young child. He was 3 years old at the time. And in my corporate job, it was requiring me to do some business travel, and I just realized that the lifestyle of that corporate position was not what I was looking for anymore, and I was ready for a new challenge and to start a new chapter. So I finally took the leap in 2006. So this year marks my 10-year anniversary in the business, and I couldn't be more pleased that I did take that leap.
Oh, that's great. I know you've seen a lot of success, but I also know you must have had to work really, really hard to grow your business to where it is now, for sure.
Absolutely. They say everything happens for a reason. And when I first started in the business, was right when the market was at that cusp of then starting to basically crash.
Oh, yeah.
And so I thought, wow.
It's really hard.
Way to pick the absolute worst time to start in the real estate business. But, hindsight's 20/20. And I have to say now, being where I was to where I've come, I think that going through those difficult times and, not only just with real estate, but just the economy in general, was such a great foundation for truly understanding the business. And it really humbled me to just how critical somebody's real estate investment is, not only from the financial perspective, but just from, their own personal life perspective. We've sat at many kitchen tables with clients who were going through really the worst time in their life. And I'm still humbled by that today when I sit down at, a kitchen table with somebody and talk about buying or selling their home. I know how important it is to them, not only from their bottom line, but it's where you make all your memories in your life with your family and your friends. And so I'm glad, that if I had to go through it, I'm glad I went through it to at least learn from it.
Absolutely. And that's such a great point. You get your clients are very often in a very emotional state. And so you're not just a realtor, you're a trusted advisor. And I'm sure that they confide in you all sorts of personal things.
Absolutely. I often equate being a realtor to being similar to being somebody's doctor or somebody's lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we deal with a lot of private information, again, not only financial, but just their personal lives. You know, everybody's life gets kind of wrapped up in their home.
Yeah.
And things are going on in their life, typically, that's causing people to move. Most people don't decide to move because they just feel like having a different house.
And they love
Most
packing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a huge endeavor.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Let's pack all of this up just for fun.
Yeah.
But most people are moving because of a change in their life.
Yeah.
Either, you know, their family is expanding, or they have a new job, or they need to downsize because their kids are going off to college, or whatever it may be. But typically it's because of a change in their life. And so moving is sort of secondary to those additional changes that are happening.
Mm-hmm.
So life is usually already stressful to begin with, and then you layer moving onto it. And our job is to not only help them find the right house or sell the house if they're just moving away, but to help them through that transition and make sure that it's as smooth as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And would you say that that's what you love about your career in real estate, or what is it that you love about it so much?
I think there's a lot of different things, but I would say number one is I like being a problem solver, and I like helping people. If I weren't afraid of blood, I think I would have been a nurse, because I do love that aspect of just helping people.
Yeah.
And so that's something that, you know, in this job I get to do every day. And I also get to solve problems, because there's always something in real estate that we're solving in terms of a challenge, whether it be, again, that somebody needs to move because of a job or a change in their family, or if somebody needs to buy because they're at a point in their life where now they don't have to rent anymore. And those are the good problems to solve.
Yeah, absolutely.
But still something to be figured out. And so I kind of look at our business like solving a puzzle. We're trying to put all of the pieces in the right place and help people to do that.
Oh, yeah, and they need someone like you to juggle all the balls and not drop them. There's so much involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we try to juggle them without them even seeing us do that.
I know. It's so true. People don't really realize, you know, it's only, I mean, I grew up with the real estate mom, so I remember seeing, you know, how much you guys do. It's just amazing.
Yeah, there is a lot that goes on behind the curtain that people aren't aware of, but that's the good thing. They shouldn't need to be aware of all of that. We should just be handling things for them behind the scenes and
taking care
make
of
them feel comfortable.
Yeah. So switching gears for a second, I'd like to know more about Scottsdale, Arizona. What's so great about where you live?
Well, we primarily work in the North Phoenix, North Scottsdale area, and when I moved here 16 years ago from San Diego, you know, my job said you just have to go for a year. And I thought, okay, I can go for a year. And now I've been here 16 years because I just absolutely fell in love with it.
Oh,
Not only is it a very affordable city, but it's a great location in terms of, you know, work. The economy is great. There's a lot of things to do in terms of recreation with golf and spas and parks and hiking. And there's great dining here. All the major sport teams are in town. It's nice to be part of a metropolitan city, yet I hear time and time again from people who are relocating here, they can't believe how we don't have any traffic.
Oh, really?
That being said, we do have a little bit, but it's nothing like, you know, I came from California. It's definitely nothing like that. And it does get warm in the summer, and people get nervous about that. But for 9 months of the year, we really have spectacular weather.
Yeah.
And for those few months where it is warm, you know, we do have some great places to go on road trips from here. You can get to San Diego in 5 hours. You can go up to Sedona in a couple of hours, or Flagstaff, Prescott, Payson. There's a lot of great mountain areas to venture out to. So it's nice to be so conveniently located. You know, you can get close to the beach or go to the mountains and have a little reprieve from the heat. Or you can enjoy your pool. So,
do most people have pools?
Yeah, most people have pools, or at least have access to pools.
Nice.
And if you don't have a pool in your own yard, you probably have some friends that do.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's always a pool nearby to cool off. And one thing I think is fantastic about Arizona is that although it does get warm, we know how to handle it, and we're set up for it. You know, everywhere you go, there's misters, there's air conditioning. Whereas so many other places in the country, even I came from San Diego, And in August, you know, when I was in college, I remember just being so hot there because it wasn't air conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, at least in Arizona, we recognize that it's going to be hot and we know how to handle it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I live in Canada, so I can't even imagine misters. They'd probably freeze.
Yeah, it's definitely the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, but when I go to Vegas, usually if I go to Las Vegas after May 1st of any year, it's too hot for me. I can't even handle it. So those misters sound fantastic. I think I'd be under there 24/7.
Oh, they are great.
So I want to ask you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot because a lot of people go, oh, I don't know, but if you had, people might ask you if you have a specialty. So what would your specialty be if you had one?
Well, I would say that, you know, about 60% of our business is representing sellers and handling listings. The other 40% is typically in handling buyers. Mm-hmm. So some people think we're more specialized in sellers than buyers, but really I think it's important to maintain a balance. Mm-hmm. There's some realtors who like to specialize in one or the other, but I really like to be involved in both because it keeps me current in terms of representing both sides of the party, how to best negotiate to get what everybody's looking to have happen. So I think it's important to again maintain a little bit of balance. That being said, we do tend to represent more sellers than buyers. In terms of price range, I would say a bulk of our business is between around $400,000 to $1 million, although we definitely again go above and below that spectrum as well. Mm-hmm. I would say from a real specialty perspective, it's probably more that I specialize in a location. And again, most of our business is kind of the North Phoenix, North Scottsdale area, and kind of in and around there, including, you know, Paradise Valley, Cave Creek, and so forth. So, you know, for us, it's more about the client and who we want to work with. And it's also about, do we understand that location and neighborhood, and can we provide the best service?
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, you've got to know the location and the schools and everything, and then because a lot of times people moving there you'll know better than they know where they should live, really. Absolutely.
Well, and especially with people relocating, you know, we want to understand where they're working, what their commute's going to be, what type of neighborhood they're interested in terms of surroundings. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's really important to be intimate with that information.
I think so too. So tell me, if someone came to you, and speaking of listings, and said, okay, I want to list my house with you and I need to sell my home really quickly, what advice would you give them?
I think that, you know, a lot of times people say, you know, what's the one-hit wonder? And I think when it comes to selling your home, there's not one thing that's going to make a difference, but it's really a combination of things. Mm-hmm. So I would say the top three things are, number one, make sure the house is clean and staged. And by staged, I don't mean you need to hire a stager and rent furniture, but make sure that the home looks neat, clean, tidy, and like somebody has taken good care of their home, and also that the seller is mentally prepared to move. So you want to have things kind of pre-packed and ready to go. Mm-hmm. The second thing is you want to provide easy access for showings. I think one of the number one ways sellers basically shoot themselves in the foot is they make their home difficult to be shown. Okay. Maybe they work from home and they don't want to be interrupted during the day with showings, or maybe they have pets in the home and so you have to schedule in advance to get the pets removed, or whatever it may be. But the easier your home is to show, the more often and more quickly it will get shown. Mm-hmm. And then number three is price. You want to be priced competitively. And I see so oftentimes sellers are taking a look online at various websites, and not all of that information is always accurate and current. So you really need to consult your real estate professional who deals with that particular neighborhood to make sure you're pricing the home correctly. Yeah. And you can't price it based on what you paid for it and how much you've invested in it. You can't price it based on what a friend told you. You need to price it based on your comparables, and that is what is currently for sale and what, more importantly, has most recently sold. And I think that's the number one downfall of so many sellers, is they're more keen to what they want to make on the house rather than what the house is really worth. Mm-hmm. And so you need to consult with a real estate professional that knows that neighborhood and can evaluate the comparable sales with you.
Absolutely. Great point. And what has sold? People always say, how much is my house worth? And my mom used to say, it's worth what someone will pay for it.
Exactly. Well, and it is important to make sure you're competitively priced against what else is also currently for sale. Mm-hmm. But you have to be a little bit cautious with relying too heavily on that data, because sometimes everybody else's house is overpriced too.
Right. Yeah.
So, just because somebody else listed their house for a certain number doesn't mean they made a wise choice in that number as well. So you really have to look at the sold.
And yet, like you said, you have to trust your real estate professional, because it's not just about the numbers. It's about, your house might be updated or not updated, or it might have something that the other house doesn't. So there's so many things that go into it, right?
Right. And I would say number one, too, is location. Wow. Even within the same neighborhood, if you're a home that has a view lot versus backs to a busy road, or if you're next to somebody who has a home who has windows staring into your yard versus a private lot, all of those things make a difference in terms of the value. And it's the real estate professional that can take a look at that data and really slice it up to make sure you're comparing apples to apples.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and because they've done it a million times. That's so true. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, what about I know you're a great negotiator. So how do you get the maximum asking price for your clients?
I think it's somewhat akin to what we just talked about. Again, you want to make sure that the house really shines. Mm-hmm. You want to make sure it's easy to show, and you want to make sure it's priced right. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes, when a home is priced right, it ends up selling for more than if you had listed it for a higher price and then ended up sliding down.
Right.
I always say when you start off your list price at a targeted number that's fairly close to value, you're more likely to get a higher number than, a lot of people think, oh, well, let's price it, 50,000 higher and people can make offers.
Right.
Well, that doesn't provide any sense of urgency to the buyer community. When they see something that's overpriced, they're like, well, we know it's not going to sell this weekend because it's overpriced. So there's no sense of urgency. But it's the homes that are priced with a sense of urgency that you tend to either end up in a multiple offer situation or at least get offers that are good out of the gate. When you start your price too high, you tend to end up more with lowball offers that you're then trying to negotiate up. So again, pricing your home is so critical.
Right.
And then, of course, you want to make sure that you partner with a realtor that understands the neighborhood and understands those comps so that the realtor, when they get the offer, can compare your home to those other sales to negotiate the best price versus those comps. They really need to understand how your house stacks up against the others.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. And that's someone with experience.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what would you say are your guiding principles as a business person?
I would say number one is if you do the right things will happen. And this started to really be my mantra when the economy was down several years ago, when the bulk of our business was bank-owned and short sales and, times were tough and things were tight.
Yeah.
There were times where I just thought, oh, how am I going to keep surviving in this business? It was so difficult. Mm-hmm. And I just kept saying to myself, if I keep doing the right things will happen. This will all work out.
Oh, good for you.
And sure enough, that's held to be true. Mm-hmm. And, there were times where it was like I really needed a sale. Personally, I needed to make money and have an income.
Yeah.
And I always stayed true to what was right for our clients. Good. Because I knew if I did right by our clients, the right things would come to me.
Yeah.
And that has always held true. And I think, one thing that our business has is sort of a negative connotation that a lot of people think realtors go into the business just for the money. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know anybody who doesn't do a job for the money. So, we all do our jobs to make money. Mm-hmm. But we also all pick our jobs based on our passions and what we love. And I do believe if you do what you love, you're going to love your life. And so that's another one of my mottos is do what you love and love what you do. And those two kind of go together for me. If you keep loving it and doing it right, the right things will happen. And I never want to shortchange or do anything that isn't in our client's best interest because what goes around comes around. And most of our business, I would say over 90% of the business that we do is from referral. Mm-hmm. And that's because we take good care of our clients. Our clients trust us. They know we have their best interest at heart and that's our number one goal is to make them happy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so good and so true. And you really are in the taking care of people business, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, speaking of taking care of people, how are you involved in your community?
Well, a number of ways. For years, and this goes long before my real estate career, I've been involved with Toys for Tots on an annual basis.
Oh, nice.
And ever since my son was born, he's involved with them too every year. We're also partnered with Salvation Army, Susan G. Komen. Locally, there's an organization, Feed My Starving Children, that we participate with.
Oh, my goodness.
And locally, on kind of a smaller scale, within our own area, we also partner with the Boys and Girls Club, Little League, and other sports affiliations for children in the area. And then we've also worked with our local schools. Just recently, one of the local elementary schools needed assistance to increase their computers for their kindergarten and first graders, and so we participated in helping with that. I'm one of those where, we do like to partner on an ongoing basis with several charities. So again, Toys for Tots, Salvation Army, Susan G. Komen, and Feed My Starving Children are kind of our ongoing partnerships.
Oh, that's great.
But as things are needed in the local community, we like to jump in kind of here and there as needed too. And I would say the focus is typically with kids.
Oh, that's great. Good for you.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you have your son involved too, because I do that with my kids as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, later this week, he and I are going to Feed My Starving Children together.
Oh, wow. It's really quite, it makes me kind of emotional. My oldest daughter and I volunteer at our food bank, and we've been doing it for years. She even leaves school early once a month to go and help. And,
oh, that's great.
It's so heartwarming, but sometimes it's really sad too. It's hard.
Yeah.
Like, you think, wow, there by the grace of God go I. Like, we've got a good life,
Absolutely. Well, I think it's really important for kids to see, the opportunity to give back. And so, I started with my son as soon as really he could walk. He would help me pick out toys for Toys for Tots.
Oh,
and,
that's so nice.
He's gone to Feed My Starving Children a few times, and he really feels good to be a part of that as well. So it's been a great mother-son event as well.
Yeah, it's good for him to see you giving. And speaking of giving, I always say that we all have $1 million gift inside of us, and that's what makes our clients want to choose us to work with. So I know this is again putting you on the spot, but what do you suppose is your $1 million gift? What makes you uniquely you? I
think the first thing that comes to mind really is just my passion. Even just talking to you today, like I feel it inside myself. I get a little riled up. I get very excited about our business. I'm very passionate about what we do. And I'm not just passionate about, helping people buy or sell a house, but it's everything that goes with it. It's, again, solving their problems, helping them achieve their goals. And at the end of the day, I just had a client who bought a house a couple weeks ago, and he sent me a picture of himself in the pool and said, I have this because of you.
Oh.
I mean, I couldn't get a better text from somebody.
Oh, that's so amazing.
That's
so
just,
great.
I mean, you can't see it on the radio, but I'm smiling, from ear to ear because it's those moments that really we live for. This is somebody who now owns a home and has a pool and is living the dream. And to think that we were a part of that is amazing, So I love what we do, and I love, it might sound kind of cheesy, but making dreams come true. And, owning a home, whether you're a first-time buyer or it's your 10th home, it's important, that feeling when you get the keys and you walk inside and this is yours, and you can paint it and decorate it and do what you want and hold parties and family events and have your friends over. It's just, there's nothing quite like home ownership to give you that feeling of freedom and just that feeling of pride. And so to be partnered with people to make that happen is amazing.
Absolutely. And I think really that's what makes you a real estate game changer, because you change people's lives.
That is true.
Yeah. I would say
that is true.
What would you say makes you a real estate game changer?
Well, I think, I hadn't really thought about it, but what you just said, I think absolutely rings true with me. We are changing people's lives. And, I think this is a business that, when I when I think about things changing, I'm sure everybody in their job can think about how things change, and I certainly can too. I feel like we are always evolving and changing and staying in tune with that change. Mm-hmm. I've been in the business now over 10 years, and we've evolved from dealing with short sales and bank-owned homes and auction homes, and now we're evolving so much with marketing and social media and the internet. Mm-hmm. I feel like every day is something new and something evolving. And it's funny, I just had a listing appointment a couple days ago, and when I was thinking about how we market our listings, the way we did things even 2 months ago is different today.
Really?
It's like I can hardly even keep up with myself sometimes when I write a list of all of the things that we do to market, because technology and social media are changing so quickly and so much. And I find, again, it kind of goes back to my passion. I love, sitting at my computer and figuring out all of the new and different ways that we can continue to enhance our marketing in terms of our listings. And it's fun. For years I was such a Facebook fan, and now really in the last year I'm becoming more heavily involved in, really it's been a couple of years now on Twitter and Instagram, lately I'm trying to be better with, and
that's great.
Snapchat, and it's like one thing after the next to stay current, but it's fun and it's exciting to see all of the different ways that we can, make things happen. And even, talking with you and doing radio interviews and, publishing a chapter of a book. And, I'm also on television and just all of the different things. I think it's been
NBC,
so fun
12
to
News.
changing.
NBC News. I forgot about that. Yeah, you're also on the news sometimes.
Yeah.
As a real estate person. Well, I think that's interesting what you're saying about all the different channels, because they're fun, but they're also, you don't know where your next customer or your next buyer of a house is going to come from, so you need to be able to reach them wherever they are.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's funny when people say, how do I reach you? It's like, well, how do you want to reach me?
Yeah, exactly. You can reach me in 19 different ways. Yeah,
exactly. And we have to stay nimble and in tune with all of those ways.
And if you Google Holly Henbest, you'll find her.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to miss.
Yeah, so let's I was just going to ask you that. So, how can people contact you, Holly?
Well, there you have it. Yeah, well, Google is certainly one way. Mm-hmm. Well, our website is a great place to start. So we are bestinazhomes.com, where you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat at Holly Henbest. On Facebook, we're the Henbest team. And then there's also the good old-fashioned phone. My number is 480-266-8785, or email. I'm holly@henbest.com. So all kinds of ways.
That's great. Good. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I know how busy you are, and I really, really appreciate it. And I think you've given some very, very good insight for our listeners. So thank you for the call today.
Well, thank you. It's been very fun chatting with you. So thank you for the opportunity.
This has been another episode of Real Estate Game Changers Radio with your host, Suzanne Doyle Ingram. To hear all episodes featuring our hand-picked real estate game changers, visit us online at www.realestategamechangersradio.com.